Welcome, traveler. Picture this. You're dropped into the center of 17th century London. The streets are cramped, the air is thick, and absolutely everything wants to kill you. Plague, pickpockets, rats the size of cats, and maybe even your own dinner. Think you could survive one night? Let's find out. No maps, no tour guides, and definitely no refunds. Let's begin. As the sun sinks behind the city's chimneys, London turns from smoke-stained grey to ominous brown. The streets begin to change. By day, they are chaotic. By night, they're a whole new beast. The Thames isn't the charming river you know today. It's cold, polluted, and smells like despair mixed with dead fish. The streets are worse. Cobblestones slick with filth, alleyways cramped, overflowing with waste, human and otherwise. You're wearing the wrong shoes. You step in something questionable. You don't ask what it is. The local butcher is still open. Meat hangs outside, flies claiming it long before customers do. A rat runs by your feet. Another watches from a windowsill. People shout from windows. Drunken songs echo off the stone walls. You are very much not in modern London anymore. You turn a corner and suddenly you're in a part of the city no one talks about. The alleys here are so tight you have to turn sideways. There's no light. The buildings lean inward, as if conspiring above you. A sign creaks overhead, "Ye Hungry Crow, Ale and Lodging." The door swings open and you step inside. It's hot, crowded, loud. The kind of place where the floor sticks to your shoes and the drinks might double as paint thinner. Someone offers you a mug of something brown. You drink it. Bold choice. A woman offers to read your palm. You politely decline. A man with a missing tooth tells you he once arm wrestled a ghost. You nod and pretend that's normal. It's time to leave before someone decides you're the entertainment. Back outside, the sky is pitch black. London doesn't believe in streetlights, just the occasional torch flickering in the wind. You hear a whistle, short, sharp, serious. That's the night watchman. And he's not thrilled to see someone wandering alone. He stops you, asks what you're doing. You give the best answer you can. He doesn't quite believe you, but he lets you go. He warns you, don't go near Fish Street after midnight. Bad things happen there. You nod. You don't ask questions. That feels like a trap. You head east. You don't know where you're going. But neither did most people in this city. In 1665, the plague was everywhere. It wasn't just a rumor or something you read about in dusty old books. It lived in the very breath of the city. Families were locked inside their homes, a red cross painted on their doors. Entire streets fell silent. If this were plague year, you might have heard the rattling of a cart and a call echoing through the night, "Bring out your dead." Corpses were collected daily. No ceremony, no comfort. Just a pit and lime. You pass a tenement where, it was said, no one made it out alive. 100 souls stacked atop one another. One sick, and the rest followed like dominoes. By the end of the year, more than 100,000 Londoners were dead. That's one in every four. But tonight, the streets seem alive. You stop outside a bakery. It smells warm, like bread and yeast. This was Thomas Farriner's bakery on Pudding Lane. In 1666, just a year after the plague, a fire started here. It was small at first, just flames licking at dry wood. But the summer had been dry, and the wind was eager. London burned for 4 days. Homes, churches, businesses, gone. 85% of the city destroyed. People ran with what little they could carry. Some didn't run at all. You picture it. The skyline glowing orange, the smoke blackening the sky. The river crowded with people trying to escape by boat. The ground so hot, the soles of your shoes melt as you flee. And yet, after the fire, they rebuilt. They always do. You stop by a small churchyard. The graves are old and uneven. Here lies a printer who refused to leave his shop during the fire. He saved none of his books. A few blocks away, there's a well. People still drink from it. But back then it was a death trap. Contaminated water was one of the biggest killers. They didn't know about germs. They just knew that the rich survived more often. because they had wine. You pass a brothel. Legal? Not really, but tolerated. Sex work was everywhere. Women did what they had to do. Men too. A woman named Mary Frith, also known as Moll Cutpurse, made her name here. She dressed in men's clothes, smoked in public, and ran her own criminal empire. She was arrested more times than she could count, and laughed every time. This city breeds survivors. And tonight, you're trying to be one of them. The deeper you walk into London's underbelly, the more alive it feels. Not in a vibrant, joyful sense, no. This kind of life is survival-shaped. Hard, hungry. It moves in shadows, breathes through chimney smoke, and speaks in whispers. You pass a chimney sweep, young, too young, barely 10 years old, soot-smeared and bone-thin. His coughing, hard, but no one stops. His job is to climb up narrow chimneys, scraping off the soot so wealthy families don't burn in their beds. Many of these boys don't live past 12. Their lungs betray them long before their courage does. Further down, you see a group of men huddled in cloaks. Highwaymen? Maybe. Or just desperate workers waiting for nothing. One of them eyes your coat like he's already decided it belongs to him. You walk faster. The city isn't just dangerous because of crime. It's dangerous because it doesn't care. If you fall, London won't even notice. During the cold months, frost creeps in through stone walls and stays for weeks. People burn anything they can find. Furniture, doors, even books. In 1683, the Thames froze so thick they built an entire fair on it. The Frost Fair. Stalls, games, even pubs were set up on the ice. People danced and drank right over the freezing river. It sounds magical until the ice cracked. Entire stalls fell through. People drowned, frozen in shock. There's always wonder in this city, but it comes with a price. You walk past a prison now. It's nothing like the ones in modern cities. This one smells like mold and misery. The Marshalsea, the Fleet, names that struck fear into Londoners' hearts. Debt could land you here. Not murder, not theft, just unpaid bills. Families were locked up for years. Some died still owing a few shillings. Inmates begged through barred windows, hoping passers-by would drop coins. Some did. Most didn't. Inside, it was chaos. Overcrowded. Disease-ridden. Guards were corrupt, and food had to be bought with bribes. If you were poor and in prison, you were invisible. Now and then, a cry echoes from inside. You don't look back. You find yourself nearing a bridge. London Bridge. Yes, that one. But not the quaint postcard image. This bridge is crammed with houses, shops, and smoke. It's a street in the air, suspended over rushing water. People live on it, trade on it, fight on it. Heads of traitors once lined the gate, stuck on spikes, rotting for all to see. A warning, don't cross the Crown. Or else. In 1605, Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament with barrels of gunpowder. He failed, was tortured, executed. His head, yep, on the bridge, along with many others. Treason wasn't rare. It was expected. Someone was always plotting. Someone was always dying. And still, the city thrived. You duck into a printing shop. It's dim, the air thick with ink and ambition. The printer is setting type for a new pamphlet. Maybe news, maybe slander. It's all the same these days. The public devours it. In the 1600s, London was the gossip capital of the world. Pamphlets spread like wildfire. Plague cures, scandalous sermons, witch accusations, and true stories of monstrous births. People believed anything in print. You see a copy of the bloody history of the wicked midwife, and a flyer about a comet that supposedly foretells the end of days. Sounds ridiculous? Maybe, but people were scared. Of everything. Witch trials were still a thing. Especially in the countryside, but even here, in the heart of the city, women could be accused for little more than a mole or a bad attitude. In 1612, a group of women from Lancashire were dragged to court and executed. Their crime? Cursing neighbors and making milk curdle. Never mind that the cows were probably just sick. You leave the print shop, hands ink-stained, mind buzzing. You pass a small school. The door's closed now, but earlier today it was filled with children, boys, mostly. Girls were rarely educated. Unless you were wealthy, school was a luxury. And even if you were lucky enough to learn to read, books were expensive. A Bible could cost as much as a week's wages. Most people learned from ballads, rhymes, and gossip. You reach a street market still wrapping up for the night. Women shout the last of their prices. Eels, turnips, pies of questionable origin. A young girl sells roasted chestnuts. Her hands are red from the heat. She offers you one. You give her a coin instead. She smiles like it's the first kindness she's seen in days. You've delayed it long enough. Fish Street. The watchman told you not to go. And to be fair, the man had a point. But curiosity has a way of dragging your feet places your brain wouldn't dare. So you go. Fish Street stinks. It always has. Even during the day, the scent of rotting scales and stale salt hangs in the air like a fog. But now, in the silence of night, the smell sharpens. It curls around corners and clings to your cloak. You pull it tighter and walk on. The shops are closed. The stalls are empty. But you're not alone. You spot movement out of the corner of your eye. A shape darts behind a barrel. Was it a rat? A dog? Something else? Hard to say. You keep walking. In the 17th century, this area was crowded with fishmongers by day and the desperate by night. Orphans, beggars, thieves. They slept in crates, under carts, wherever they could find a scrap of shelter. Some never woke up. Some were never found at all. You pass a man slumped against a wall. You think he's sleeping, or drunk, or worse. You don't check. No one does. Further down, you hear muttering. Two figures argue quietly over a sack. It's not moving. You don't look too long. You don't want to know what's inside. There's a reason the night watch warned you. This street belonged to the forgotten. And in a city bursting at the seams with life, being forgotten was the most dangerous thing of all. You spot a small sign swinging in the wind. Dr. Elias Petherbridge, surgeon and tooth drawer. You don't want to know what kind of operations he performs at this hour. But the bloodstains on the steps are not subtle. In this era, medical care was brutal and mostly guesswork. Amputation was done without anesthesia. Doctors might rub tobacco into your wounds or apply leeches if you were lucky. If you were unlucky, they'd apply mercury. Or worse, nothing. You move on. A cloaked figure rounds the corner ahead of you. The beak of his mask glints in the moonlight. A plague doctor. But there is no plague. Not tonight. At least, you hope not. His outfit is more superstition than science. Heavy leather, gloves, and that iconic beaked mask, stuffed with herbs to filter bad air. Miasma, they called it. The invisible poison they thought caused sickness. The mask doesn't make him less terrifying. He walks slowly, deliberately, like he knows something you don't. You flatten yourself against a wall and let him pass. He doesn't speak, doesn't look, just keeps walking. You exhale. The buildings on Fish Street lean closer together here, like they're whispering secrets. You imagine what these walls have seen. Births, deaths, crimes, miracles. All pressed together in a stew of history, all happening at once. A soft laugh cuts through the dark. You glance around. Two young women, barefoot, dash past you down the street. One carries a loaf of bread. The other has a stolen bottle of wine. They disappear into the shadows, giggling like ghosts. Not everyone here is suffering. Some are surviving, scraping together joy in whatever ways they can, even if it means a bit of petty theft. You admire it. You pass the remains of a church that burned in the Great Fire. The stone skeleton is all that's left. Its roof long gone, its bell tower crumbled. A cat perches on a broken pew. This was once a place of sanctuary. Now, it's just another ruin. London is full of them. But like the people who walk her streets, the city refuses to die. She adapts. She rebuilds. And even now, in the dead of night, you feel it. The heartbeat beneath the stone. You finally reach the end of Fish Street. You've made it through. You turn back, and the road behind you looks different. Like a dream that's already fading. The sun will rise soon. The market stalls will reopen. The city will start over again, just like it always does. But you will remember this. One night, one narrow, cobbled, candlelit night, in a city that never truly sleeps and never truly forgives. The sky begins to change. It's not sunrise, not yet, but the black has softened to a bruised violet. Somewhere above, past layers of chimney soot and fog, the sun is considering a return. But down here, on the ground, the city is already shifting. London is waking up. The stillness of night unravels thread by thread. First, you hear the rustle of carts, wooden wheels bumping over stone. Then voices, soft, tired, shouting to no one in particular. Vendors, farmers, bakers, the undercurrent of industry that powers the beast. You find yourself back near Cheapside. It was quiet before. Now it's not. A woman hauls out baskets of greens, mostly wilted, but it'll sell. A man with flour-stained sleeves rolls up the shutters of his shop. His eyes are red from lack of sleep, but his hands move fast. Bread doesn't wait. And just like that, the city forgets the night. You haven't forgotten. You still feel it in your legs, in your lungs, in the way you flinch slightly every time a stranger passes too close. But the people around you move like nothing happened, because to them, it didn't. This is every day, every night. One long loop of survival and routine. You stop beside a boy sweeping the steps of a tavern. His broom is bigger than he is. He glances up at you and shrugs. "You're out late," he says. Then he laughs. "Or early." You ask his name. He says, "John." You ask how old he is. He shrugs again. "Old enough." You don't press further. You just nod. You walk past a small chapel, where a group of women are already gathering. Their shawls are pulled tight, and their heads are bowed. They don't speak, just kneel, whispering prayers. Maybe for loved ones, maybe for food, maybe to make it through another day. You wonder if any of them were on Fish Street hours ago. Londoners wore many masks, and none of them were made of velvet. You pass by a tall man balancing a bucket on his head. Night soil collector. His job is to clean out privies and cesspits. He gets paid in pence and glares. But without him, the city would drown in its own waste. Not every hero wears armor. Some wear boots covered in, well, best not to describe it. You see a constable talking to a merchant about a theft. The thief took a wheel of cheese. The merchant is furious. The constable is not. He waves it off. Cheese is replaceable. Heads are not. The merchant fumes. The constable lights a pipe and walks away. That's the balance here. Justice isn't blind. It's just tired. You continue walking. The rooftops are getting brighter now. Not clean or golden, but grey-bright, like something that's been scrubbed and never quite dries. You pass an apothecary unlocking his doors. His shelves are lined with bottles filled with powders and herbs. Remedies for everything. Fevers, toothaches, heartbreak. You hear him mutter to himself, "One day, they'll understand. It's not the air, it's the water." He's right, but no one listens to apothecaries. Not yet. You follow your nose to a pie shop. Meat pies, steaming and savory. You're not sure what's inside. Best not to ask. But your stomach growls like it's auditioning for a Shakespearean play. The woman behind the stall hands you one. "First customer gets a discount," she says. You ask how long she's been working. She says, "Since I was tall enough to reach the oven." Then she laughs, raspy and warm. The pie is good. Or maybe you're just grateful to taste something hot that doesn't fight back. As you eat, you pass a poster pasted to a wooden beam. It's damp, but still legible. It's an announcement for a public hanging. Tomorrow, someone convicted of forgery. Not murder, not treason, just forgery. The punishment, death. And people will come watch. You pause. Think about that. How easy it is to become entertainment. How quickly misfortune becomes a show. And yet the square will be full. Children will sit on shoulders. Vendors will sell snacks. A man's last breath turned into a carnival. London can be cruel like that. Honest, but cruel. You wander past a theatre. The Globe, or maybe the Rose. Hard to tell in this light. Its doors are shut now, but yesterday they played to a packed crowd. Maybe a Shakespeare play. Maybe a newer name. The city craves stories, anything to distract from the smell and the hunger. You glance at a poster, the tragedy of Julius Caesar. A fitting theme. You wonder how many of those actors live the same tragedies when the curtain drops. A cat crosses your path. Black. Of course it is. You follow it for a few steps, then stop. You realize something. You've made it. One night. No plague took you. No thief gutted you. No constable hauled you off for loitering. You are intact, if not entirely clean. The city is awake now. Fully. Loud and living. You take one last look around. The same streets that were sinister hours ago now feel ordinary. The same corners. The same people. And yet, you're different. You survived the night. Not many tourists can say that. You straighten your back. Breathe in deeply. Immediately regret that. Because it smells like fish and coal and sewage. Still, there's something beautiful here. In the grime. In the noise. In the refusal to quit. London doesn't sparkle. It smolders. And somehow, that's even better. You think the streets are chaotic? Try the palace. It's nearly morning now, and something stirs near Whitehall. Not just horses or servants or the clatter of carts. No, this is something more deliberate. Political. Dangerous. You wander close to the grand building, quiet but watchful. You stay near the edges. No one stops you. In this city, people only see what they expect to see, and no one expects a time-lost traveler to be eavesdropping on the ghosts of kings. Inside these walls, history turned sharply. In 1649, right here, King Charles I walked out of banqueting house and onto a wooden scaffold. He wore 2 shirts. He didn't want to shiver in the cold and be mistaken for afraid. The crowd was silent, shocked. The axe fell. A monarch died. That had never happened before. You stand in that very square. You imagine the scaffold rising from the ground. The hush before the blow. The sudden roar after. One witness dipped a cloth in the king's blood, keeping it as a holy relic. Others fainted. Some wept. Some cheered. For a brief, strange moment, England had no king. Parliament took over. Then Oliver Cromwell, a Puritan general turned ruler. You walk through a side street, where the taverns have names like the Lion's Silence and the King's Head, dark jokes, both. Inside one, a man sits at a table carving something into the wood. You lean over. It's a crown, broken in half. You weren't here when Cromwell banned Christmas, he mutters. We had to eat boiled cabbage and pretend it was a feast. You sit. He doesn't mind. Back then, no dancing, no theater, no music. You could get arrested for singing a hymn too cheerfully. They called it godly. I call it miserable. He leans in, but we all knew it wouldn't last. England likes its drama. You ask what happened when Charles II returned. The man laughs. They threw parties in the streets. People wore masks and drank wine until they forgot we ever had a Lord Protector. Charles II, the merry monarch. He came back in 1660, after years in exile. The city welcomed him like a prodigal son. Bonfires, bells, even some Puritans cheered. But things didn't exactly go back to normal. You leave the tavern and follow the sound of clinking armor. Near the palace gates, 2 guards in fine uniforms are talking. I hear he's kept 12 mistresses, one says. 12? That's just the official count. They laugh. Charles II had many flaws, but being boring wasn't one of them. He surrounded himself with poets, scientists, and scandal. The court was glittering, decadent, wild. You walk through St. James's Park, where nobles once strolled with monkeys on leashes and wore wigs taller than their dignity. It smells like fresh bread and horse manure. The smell of luxury, apparently. You pass by a fountain where a man in silk is feeding crumbs to pigeons. He turns and says, "You're not from around here." You ask him why he says that. You're looking up. Londoners rarely do, too afraid of what might fall. He introduces himself as Mr. Arlingham, advisor to someone who advises someone important. You don't ask for details. You won't remember them. He says, "You think kings rule?" Not quite. Courtiers do, and they whisper loudest after dark. You ask about the scandals. He grins. "Ah, scandals are the currency of Whitehall. A noble spends his reputation like coin until he's broke or crowned." He tells you of Barbara Palmer, the king's favorite mistress, who held more sway than most ministers. Of Nell Gwyn, the actress who rose from the stage to the royal bedroom and stayed, thanks to her wit. You ask how they got away with it. "They were entertaining," he says simply. London forgives anything that makes it laugh. You walk further until you reach a square with a statue of Charles I on horseback. Even now, after all the beheadings and exiles and returns, there he is, cast in bronze, looking regal and calm. A passerby notices you staring. They took it down once, you know, during the Commonwealth, buried it in a garden. You ask how it came back. They never destroyed it, just hid it, like they always do with kings. You sit on a bench as the morning sun finally breaks through. The sky is still grey, but brighter. The birds are louder. The city's hustle picks up. Royalty still exists here, but it's more legend than leadership, more pageant than power. Still, the echoes of kings and queens ripple through every stone. London doesn't forget. It just keeps going. And so do you. You've heard the rumors by now. You've passed taverns where old men mutter about the woman who lives alone by the marsh. You've seen the chalk marks on doorways, the iron charms hung from lintels, the sudden silences when a certain name is spoken. London has witches. At least, that's what they say. It's still early morning, and the streets are soft with mist. You decide to follow a quieter road, past the bustle of traders, away from the cawing of pie sellers, toward the edges, toward suspicion. You reach a cluster of cottages near a wood-paneled lane. These aren't the fashionable homes of merchants or noblemen. They are patched with moss, lopsided, humble. You see herbs drying on doorways, bottles on windowsills, cats, so many cats. Someone is watching you. She steps out from one of the doorways. An old woman, thin as a matchstick, wrapped in a wool cloak stitched with patches. Her eyes are sharp, too sharp for someone her age. "Looking for trouble," she says. Not unkindly. You shake your head. Then you found the right place. Her name is Editha. She waves you inside. The room smells of rosemary, onion, and something earthier. There are books, strange ones, jars full of unfamiliar things. A toad blinks at you from a basket. "Don't mind him," Editha says. "He's polite." You ask if she's a witch. She shrugs. "Depends on who's asking, and who's listening." In truth, she's a healer, a midwife, a wise woman. She mixes poultices, delivers babies, brews calming tea for nightmares. She's helped hundreds, maybe thousands. But still, she's one bad rumor away from the gallows. This is 17th century England, and suspicion is a faster killer than any sickness. Between 1645 and 1647, hundreds of people were executed for witchcraft. Most were women. Most were poor. All were accused by someone with a grudge. You ask Editha if she's ever been accused. She laughs, hollow and short. "Only twice. First time, I cured the magistrate's wife of boils. Second time, I saved his horse. He owes me." You believe her, but you've seen the pamphlets. The Confessions of Alice the Milk Hag. Beware the witches of Essex. You've heard the stories. A woman's milk goes sour? Witch. A baby dies in the night? Witch. A cow stops giving milk. A man dreams of falling. Rain comes too soon or too late. Witch, witch, witch. You step back outside. The sun is rising higher now, but there's still a chill. Down the road, you hear bells. Not church bells, small ones, tied to a cart. A man in black robes is preaching to a small crowd. He holds a Bible in one hand and a list in the other. Names. You don't recognize them, but the people do. They glance around nervously. Someone shifts uncomfortably. Another crosses herself. He speaks of sin, of devils, of signs and omens. A mole, a birthmark, a third nipple, the devil's teat, he calls it. You catch a word that chills you. Matthew Hopkins, the witch-finder general. He's not in London now, but his shadow reaches even here. In Essex, he led a campaign that saw over 100 women hanged in just 2 years. He used sleep deprivation, forced confessions, trials that were more theater than justice. You wonder how many lives were lost to fear, and how many were saved by luck alone. You walk away from the preacher, back toward Editha's lane. She's outside now, tending to her herbs. You ask how she survives. I help the right people. I disappear when I need to, and I don't answer questions unless I want to. She hands you a sprig of lavender. For nightmares. You ask if she ever dreamed of burning. All the time, she says. But I wake up, don't I? You thank her. She nods once and returns to her work. The toad watches you leave. Back in the city center, life has resumed. The fear lives beneath the surface now. In glances, in gossip, in the things left unsaid. You pass another sign nailed to a post. A sketch of a woman's face. Words beneath, suspected of witchery. Avoid. No trial. No proof. Just fear. But you also see another woman helping a child to walk. She smiles gently. You see a man hand his last coin to someone for a tincture. You see kindness, stitched together with fear. Not all witches wore pointed hats. Most wore aprons, and carried the city on their backs. You keep walking. You're not afraid, but you understand now. In 17th century London, the witch you fear might be your neighbor, or your healer, or your mother, or your own reflection. And sometimes, they were just women trying to survive. London is built on stories. Some are told in palaces, others in prisons, and some never reach parchment at all, because the people who live them disappear before dawn. Now you follow one of those stories. It begins in the market square. Morning has stretched fully into day. The cries of sellers ring through the cobblestone corridors like the chorus of a well-rehearsed play. And then, someone bumps your shoulder. A boy. Slim, fast, gone. Your coin purse is lighter. You spin around, but is already ducked into the crowd. You follow instinct, not direction. Past the pie seller. Past the man shouting about fresh ink and scandalous headlines. You spot a shadow slip between two fish stalls. Down an alley. Left. Right. Then down a stair you didn't know existed. You enter a different London. This is the Undercity. Not Soars. Not quite. But close. This is where the lost things go. And the people who lose them. The boy is there, watching. He's older than you thought. Maybe 17. Face smudged, coat too big, grin sharp. Didn't think you'd follow, he says. Most don't. You ask for your coin. He tosses it to you. Consider it borrowed. You're lucky I like odd folk. His name is Tam. He leads you deeper. The tunnel opens into a wide cellar lit by candle stubs. Children sort through baskets of buttons, pins, apple cores. An old man sews boots. A girl sharpens a knife. She nods at you. Welcome to the crew, Tam says. This is the world of London's child thieves, the shadow folk, the ones who sleep in chimneys and pick locks with hairpins. Some are orphans. Others ran from homes worse than the streets. You ask if they work for anyone. Tam smirks. Some do. Some work for Fagin. Some for the beggar queen. Some freelance. Me? I just follow the moon and my stomach. You ask who the beggar queen is. He chuckles. You'll see. They don't steal just for fun. They steal to eat, to live, to keep from being noticed in a city that doesn't care unless it's looking to punish someone. Tam teaches you how to lift a purse with a shoulder bump, how to slip through a crowd like smoke, how to spot a constable's walk from a block away. You won't last long here if you try to be clever, he says. You last by being invisible. He takes you topside again, through a cellar door, past a kitchen that smells like burnt onions and secrets. You're in Covent Garden now. You walk beside Tam. He nods at certain people. A flower seller missing 2 fingers. A man with a parrot who sells miracle cures. A boy playing violin with 1 string. Crew, he says simply. Then, suddenly, he stops. There's a commotion near the square. A crowd forming. Voices rising. You edge closer. Someone's been caught. A woman, no older than 20. Hair tangled, eyes wild, holding a stolen loaf. She's on her knees. A constable holds her by the collar. The crowd jeers. Some cheer. A man throws a cabbage. Tam doesn't move. Neither do you. Then the constable shouts, "Thief! By order of the crown, let all who witness be reminded, justice has no favorites." He drags her toward the pillory. Her punishment? A day in the stocks. Public humiliation. Rotten food hurled. Maybe worse. You want to step in. Tam stops you. Don't, he says. She knew the risk. He looks angry, but helpless. This is how they keep us small, he mutters. Make us symbols. 1 loaf and your name's mud for life. You walk away, both of you silent. Back underground, Tam shows you a narrow crack behind a broken wall. You squeeze through. On the other side is a room lit with soft lamps and laughter. It smells like stew, and wet fur, and candle wax. In the center is a throne made of broken barrels and velvet scraps. And on it sits a woman, the beggar queen. She's old, or maybe not. Her face is lined with soot and wisdom. She wears rings on every finger and a scarf of peacock feathers. Tam bows. Brought you someone strange. She looks at you. Strange is good, she says. Sit. Eat. You do. She asks questions. Not your name, not where you're from, but what you've seen, what you fear, what you remember. You answer. She tells you stories in return. Of children who saved nobles from fire. Of pickpockets who turned spies. Of a mute girl who stole the mayor's seal and used it to feed her whole street. She doesn't glorify theft. She explains it. This city builds itself on the backs of the poor, she says. But it only writes about kings. She raises a cup. To the forgotten ones. The others echo her. To the forgotten. Later, you lie on a blanket of stitched-together coats. A candle burns nearby. Tam sleeps with one eye open. You hear the city above. Wheels, hooves, laughter, bells. You hear your heart, too, beating not with fear, but understanding. In 17th century London, there is no safety net, no second chances, only survival, only shadow, only the people who see you, even when the city looks away. You fall asleep beneath the city that never truly sees its own roots. The thief, the queen, the crew, they're all part of its truth. And now, so are you. You wake to the scent of ink. Not smoke, not sewage. Ink. Tam is gone. The beggar queen too. But someone left you a folded note on a scrap of playbill. If you want to see the real heart of London, follow the laughter. And so you do. By late morning, you're moving through the city's noisier veins. Past bread vendors, gossiping midwives, and jugglers balancing cabbages on their heads. You catch sight of it, a tall, wooden beast of a building. Circular, sturdy, loud. The Globe Theatre. It feels like a living thing. It hums, even before the actors arrive. The boards creak with purpose. The stairs tremble with the stomps of feet too excited to walk. You step inside. The pit is already filling. Men with tankards, women with oranges, children perched on barrels, all ready to shout, laugh, jeer, and cheer. The tickets were cheap for the groundlings. A penny, 2 if you wanted to sit, more if you wanted a cushion that didn't have fleas. The higher seats were for the wealthy, the ones who came more to be seen than to see. You watch as a man sweeps the stage. Another checks a curtain. A third sips from a flask and adjusts his wig with one hand. First time? Someone asks beside you. You nod. The man smiles. His teeth are a disaster, but his voice is velvet. I'm Alden, actor, occasionally brilliant, mostly hungry. He's playing a ghost today, or a fool. He hasn't decided yet. He shows you backstage. It's chaos, controlled chaos, but still chaos. Costumes hang from nails. Scripts are smudged with grease. A boy is painting a moon on a piece of canvas. Another is being sewn into a dress. Women can't act on stage, Alden explains. So boys do it. Some are so good they make the noble swoon. You ask if that ever causes problems. He grins. Endless ones. Makes for excellent poetry, though. You pass by a barrel where someone's sleeping under a pile of wigs. A prop sword sticks out. A man in a robe walks by, muttering a monologue about betrayal and bees. Alden whispers, "That's Horace." He writes, "Don't feed his ego." You follow Horace to a small, shadowy corner. He sits cross-legged with a quill and an expression like he's about to reinvent storytelling. You ask if he's written anything famous. He frowns. "No, but I did once rhyme corruption with eruptions." You nod solemnly. "Genius." He beams. You hear a voice bark, "Places." The pit outside roars like a hungry bear. You're led to a corner near the curtain. Out of sight, but not out of hearing. The play begins. And suddenly, London transforms. The story is about a prince who fakes madness to trap a murderer. Or maybe it's about a gravedigger who knows too much. Or a queen with a secret. It doesn't matter, because the crowd is in. They shout. They clap. They finish lines from memory. When a villain appears, someone throws an onion. Alden plays the ghost. He floats across the stage like mist. People gasp. Someone faints. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's theater. Same difference here. The actors play on, switching wigs, grabbing props, kissing cheeks, faking stabbings. It's clumsy and brilliant, raw and rich. You forget it's a play. It feels like confession. Later, in the alley behind the theater, the cast re-emerges, flushed and sweaty. Someone's counting coins. Someone else is reenacting their death scene dramatically into a puddle. You find Alden again. You liked it, he asks. You tell him it was magic. He laughs. It's not magic. It's survival. You think we act for art? We act to eat. But if people want poetry with their bread, we'll give it to them. You ask about Shakespeare. He shrugs. Dead before I ever had a stage. But his ghosts still lurk. Everyone wants to be the next him. No one is. He leans close. You know what makes a good play? You ask what? He says, a lie that makes people tell the truth. You write that down. In your head. In your bones. Backstage, you're offered a role in the next show. No lines. Just stand in the corner and look suspicious. You accept. You hold a fake scroll. You look shifty. You're a natural. Afterwards, Horace hands you a page of lines. I wrote these last night. Want to hear? You nod. He clears his throat. A soul, so tethered to a place, may haunt not from sorrow, but habit. You clap. Genuinely. He beams. I knew it. I knew it. You spend the rest of the afternoon among playwrights and painters, dancers with bruised knees and singers with cracked voices. They rehearse under bridges, perform in taverns, share bread and blame and brilliance. You realize something. This is the pulse of London. Not the kings, not the priests, not even the beggars. The storytellers. They make the world feel larger, stranger, possible. In the globe, in the alley, in the firelit rooms where words become worlds, London blooms. You sit beside Alden one last time. He says, come back tomorrow. We're staging a tragedy. Everyone dies. It's going to be wonderful. You smile. You'll be there. And just like that, The candle burns low. You've wandered with chimney sweeps and courtiers. You've slipped through shadows with pickpockets and whispered with witches. You've stood in plague-struck alleys, stolen scenes in noisy theaters, and eavesdropped on kings and queens behind palace doors. All in one night. Now, the streets grow quiet again. The crowds fade. The smell of bread lingers. Somewhere, someone laughs. Somewhere else, someone prays. The city exhales. You made it. Not because you fought. Not because you fled. But because you listened. Because you looked. Because you walked, step by step, through the same crooked streets that held the dreams and dust of generations. This is 17th century London. It wasn't polished. It wasn't easy. But it was alive. And so are its stories. If your eyes are heavy now, that's okay. That means you've truly wandered. So rest, traveler. And when you wake, remember, this night was just one story. There are thousands more, waiting in the shadows, waiting in the cracks, waiting for you. And if you ever want to walk these streets again, well, you know where to find me. Sleep well, stay curious, and come back soon to Wandering Storyteller.